continue procrastinating, if I continue putting off the thing and I'm not wanting to do it and I feel like I'm bouncing to all of the other stuff, sometimes I realize that I'm not actually procrastinating the task. I'm procrastinating the emotion. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the What Savvy Said podcast. I am Savannah, aka the Savvy behind What Savvy Said, and we are doing a very cozy episode of the podcast today. I have a lot going on if you're watching this on YouTube, so welcome to my hidey little hole. But I posted something the other day on TikTok, which is a platform I'm loving right now, talking about procrastination. And not necessarily productivity, which we're going to touch on a little bit today, but procrastination in the sense of why you might be procrastinating in ways that you've never even thought would be the reason that you're procrastinating. And it's something that's really resonated for me as I've begun to heal, as I've become a person who is more emotionally intelligent, as I've kind of started really doing the work. Procrastination really shows up for me in a lot of different ways. So I want to talk about that today. I want to dive into some of the reasons that you might be procrastinating, some of the ways that you can really honor yourself in your healing journey and the ways that you're moving forward. And then, kind of dive into maybe some of the things that you just aren't considering, aren't thinking about, and the reasons that you're procrastinating coming into the season that maybe you weren't before the pandemic. So a lot to chat about, but I'm super excited to talk about it. So let's get into it. So I feel like if we're going to talk about procrastination, we also have to talk about productivity. And I feel like the way that I define productivity is very different now than it was pre-pandemic. And that's for a few reasons. One of them being, I feel like the pandemic really forced me out of the hustle culture. And I just had to take a new approach to things. It was the first time for 10 years that I had really slowed down, that I hadn't traveled somewhere once a month or every 2 months, that I was really kind of stuck in the worst possible way that I could be. I know we all had our different approaches to it, but I was coming out of a tough season. I was ready to get into the next season, and the universe very much put me in a place of no, we're going to hold you here. You have to be here in this time. And coming into 2021, 2022, I was really trying to get back my flow of things. And to be honest, that wasn't going to work regardless, because there was just new platforms. The way that I needed to operate as a content creator was different. There was a lot of different stuff happening. But I think that sometimes the procrastination comes from the space of we're trying to do all of the things and we just don't have it in us to hustle anymore. The procrastination can somewhat be a sign of burnout, but it can also be an opportunity for the universe to give you the chance to see things differently, to understand that the way that you're doing things can be a completely different side of stuff. So I think that's the first part of this with procrastination is sometimes when I find that I'm consistently procrastinating things, it might be because the way I'm doing them is not the most supportive way for me to do them. And there's a better way for me to do that. I can do a whole episode on masculine and feminine energy and the ways that I've really kind of honored that more recently for myself. But I realized that there were certain things for me that just didn't fit my flow, didn't fit my joy, didn't really fill my cup. And the way that I was structuring my day was setting me up for procrastination because I really just didn't feel like I had a moment to breathe. And I also felt like when I was time blocking in the way that I was filling every ounce of my day with something, and I wasn't giving myself the chance to actually fill my cup with things or to check in. And I think there's more than one way that you can actually be productive and honor your time. Again, that's a whole other episode. But sometimes I feel like when we start really procrastinating, it's because we are being invited to do things in a different way. We're being invited to take a different approach to things because for so many of us, hustle culture is just not working anymore. It's not something that we want to participate in. It's not something that feels good for us. We've learned that there are other ways to do things. The more you really investigate and kind of learn about manifesting and energy, the more that is going to change as well. But I feel like when I really stepped away from hustle culture and I really just started understanding the like physics, the quantum physics, all of the other side of stuff, I just had a whole new approach for things. And so I didn't look at procrastination as a bad thing. I looked at it as a way to like understand myself a little bit more. Now, I mentioned this in my TikTok the other day, and this is the thing for me with procrastination in this particular season. I feel like it's helpful to start with, I schedule my day on a notepad every single day. And I do that for a reason, because I've identified my procrastination triggers, and I love my iPad. I have utilized my iPad for the last year or so, and I will still utilize it for journaling. I find that it can be really helpful if I'm wanting to get a lot of stuff out. I can put my keyboard on it and just type and vent that way. I'm not slugged down on the thoughts. It's a really quick way for me to process stuff. But utilizing electronics for my what I need to do for the day gives me access to too much other stuff, and it's a procrastination trigger for me. Being on electronic, whether it's my computer, my phone, iPad, anything, and bouncing between things, and so that rhythm's kind of there, and I don't mind it. It's very helpful for me. But if I get on my iPad to go throughout my day with however I've scheduled it, I'm automatically setting myself up for failure. I had this urge last week, I'm gonna call it a nudge because it definitely felt like a nudge out of nowhere, to start to plan my day in my journal again, to pull out a paper journal that I have not used in almost a year, and to start doing my journaling in that, to start planning stuff out there. And I noticed yesterday that I tried to go back in for my iPad for the day because I saw this app for this really cool journal thing, and I was going to try that, and I started messing with it, and almost instantly it was just, I could see my self veering all over the place. It wasn't working. So I feel like understanding your procrastination triggers is huge. If you know that if you do something that it's going to automatically cause your brain to go in 100 other directions, being able to set a boundary is going to absolutely change your life. For me, I have it all on my paper. Everything that I need is on my paper. I have timers on all of my apps, so I'm accountable that way. Everything I'm going to do for the day is on my paper. That being said, I divide everything out with different times for things, so I'm not overdoing my day. I have a rough estimate based on the categories that I've set and the amount of numbers that I give myself available to do it, how that's gonna work. So if I'm flowing through things and I'm looking at my task sheet, the thing that happened to me the other day was that I was going through, I honestly don't remember what it was. I was going throughout my day and something triggered me, and I couldn't figure out what it was, and I just found myself procrastinating. And sometimes I will give myself the space of when I'm feeling triggered by something, my coping mechanism is to want to curl up with a book and take some space to do things. I have different things where I have to talk yourself through it and be okay, do I really need this long amount of time to do it? Or sometimes I'll give myself permission to go do whatever the coping mechanism is that might take the rest of the day if I'm really in a bad space, and I only need 5 minutes. Sometimes the barrier of just saying yes to myself is enough. But I found that if I'm procrastinating for longer than a short amount of time, meaning sometimes I actually need a second and the universe is hey, we're going to give you a minute because whatever it is you're going to do, you don't realize needs a few more minutes and you need to wait. I don't have the urge to do another task that's only going to take me 5 minutes. But if I continue procrastinating, if I continue putting off the thing and I'm not wanting to do it, and I feel like I'm bouncing to all of the other stuff, sometimes I realize that I'm not actually procrastinating the task. I'm procrastinating the emotion. I'm procrastinating whatever it is that I've been triggered by. I'm not getting off of that. I'm not getting around it. I'm still kind of stuck on it. I'm spiraling at this point. So it's my job to figure out what I need to do to hold myself in that moment. And the sooner that I can walk myself back and be oh, I'm not procrastinating the task. Because if I'm in a place of, today I had on my list to do recording a Neverly Well video, editing, uploading, doing all of those things. And I definitely procrastinated a little bit. I think I needed a little bit more time to fill my cup this morning, but I also got in, knocked things out, have been kind of flowy. I find that like sometimes I can go do something fun that's on my list that like brings instantaneous joy. It's just low pressure and I'm ready to get back into it. And then sometimes I have triggered myself and I don't want to do a thing because I know that I'm manifesting stuff. I know that I'm showing up intentionally to deal with the limiting beliefs and the doubts and anything that could stop me from it. So now that I know all of those things, I'm acknowledging all of those fears and they're up a little bit more inside of me. They're like live kind of like higher in my chest, which means I know that they're there. So when I'm continually procrastinating something, I have to go sit down and be like, okay, what is the reason that I don't want to do this thing? Is it because maybe something happened and it triggered an emotion for me? Or maybe because I'm really excited to accomplish these big goals, but I'm also absolutely terrified about what that means. And when I can do that, part of this for me is inner child healing. Part of this for me is like shadow work. I know those can be very vague terms. If you don't understand them, we can talk about them at another point in time, but Google is also a great resource. But really kind of doing the work to hold myself and to acknowledge the part of me that is scared, the part of me that is feeling that fear, the part of me that is feeling overwhelmed, the part of me that just needs the bigger me to like sit with myself. And when I can do that, when I can give myself that emotional need, I find it's a lot easier to move forward. But sometimes I'm not actually procrastinating whatever it is that I need to do. I'm procrastinating dealing with the emotion, and I'm also self-sabotaging because of that. Now, another reason you might be procrastinating, and it's something that I've found for myself as a point of growth, is if there's something that I feel like I'm really struggling with, or I'm just not doing it. Either I hate doing it, it's not happening, it's just not a priority in the way that I want it to be a priority, or maybe it's been a priority before and I can't get it to be a priority now, is the universe is inviting me to level up. And that comes in different forms. I was talking with a friend about it the other day, and I know that it's something that Amanda said. Amanda Francis, if you guys don't know, love her content, love her work. We'll link things in the description box for this. But the idea that when you're running your business, you get to a point where like, if there's something that you're really not wanting to do, something you're procrastinating, something you're really hating, there's a few things. It either needs to be eliminated, it needs to be delegated, or you need to reframe your mindset about it. And I had this moment a couple of months ago where I was just like, I'm really struggling to support myself with food. And like, I was a wellness blogger before I transitioned myself into this bubble. And I very much have taken the time to like do all of the holistic work and heal my hormones naturally, and to like understand how important my diet is for my mind, for my body, for my soul, and eating a specific way, how that supports me and how that really helps me, you know, keep depression symptoms at a minimum, like helps me manage depression, anxiety, everything. Diet's very important to me. And I just was not there, was not feeling inspired, was not feeling engaged with it. And feels a little bit better now. We're discovering some new things, but I realized that this was like an opportunity to be like, I get to be supported here. And as somebody who has spent the better part of the last year really working on her money mindset and kind of navigating the ways that like that looks for me and what it feels like to be supported, this was an opportunity for me to be like, you know what, I can support myself in this way. I can find a meal service that feels aligned for me, that feels like it supports me, not necessarily every meal, but the meals where I would definitely be prone to hopping on DoorDash and ordering something, or, you know, eating absolute junk when I know that my body doesn't like gluten, doesn't like dairy. Like, I tend to feel the best on like a paleo-based diet, and living in a small town, that doesn't really work. So I had to kind of dig into what my options were, and I looked at like, do I want to do meal plans again? Like, I do like a sunbasket style of things, and I came across a service called Eat Clean that they've been mostly okay. They're great for what they are, and they're great for kind of what they provide. But that was an opportunity for me to level up. I was getting to a point where like it just wasn't happening, and it needed to happen. It was something that was serving me, that would be helpful for me, but I was procrastinating it in a way that the universe is like, listen, the more that you grow, the bigger that you go, the more that you're really achieving your goals. Money is a resource. It's a tool. It's here to help you, which means you get to be supported with things. So that procrastination for me was an opportunity to be like, okay, this can happen in a better way, and I can choose to find something that's aligned for me. I think sometimes we procrastinate it, and then we're like so holding on to it because we feel like we're the only person who can do it, or it only works if we do it, or we have to be really picky about it. And sometimes we forget, well, okay, it's like anything else. Like, I can choose that this can be a good experience. I can choose that I get to have this thing in this context in this way. Like, I've done this in the most random ways where you show up and like, it's just a reminder that you're getting to level up. And if you feel like it's not possible and that can't happen the way that you want it to, then that's the limiting belief that you get to deal with and move forward. And the last thing about procrastination I want to say, and I feel like this has been some of the biggest transformations for me in the last few weeks that have made me so much more productive, but also so much happier, which makes me a better energetic match for things. And that's like, a whole other flow of stuff, is that sometimes I find that we're really just out of balance of doing the things that we want to be doing versus doing the things that we should be doing. And if we sat down and like looked at all of the stuff that we're actually doing, it's been a while since we've checked in. And so we're kind of at a point where we're not willing to admit to ourselves that we don't like the structure that we're doing stuff. We don't necessarily love what we're doing. We don't feel inspired by it. Maybe there's a different approach to it. Maybe the way that we've been experiencing things isn't just working for us. I have really been struggling to take blog photos for the past month or so. I did really great in September. We were traveling. I had friends to help me, and I, for the life of me, could not make a blog photo happen like a week or two ago. It just wasn't working for me. And I was going through my list of what I was going to create for this week, and I was trying to decide if I was going to do Instagram reels all the time, if I was going to do TikToks all the time, what was I going to do? And I wrote out carousels, and I thought, well, that actually sounds fun. I am okay with doing the low pressure version of a carousel, and that's still shots that I would take for the blog. But my mindset around it, I needed to step back and acknowledge, okay, this isn't working this way anymore. And these are the reasons that it's not working. And maybe I have a limiting belief somewhere in there. I definitely have identified a few when it comes to how the blog works for me, and having a photographer on staff and working with a photographer, and what that looks like for me and how I want to go forward there. But I needed to step back and acknowledge, okay, everything on my plate wasn't quite vibing, and that's fine. I can have all of the things. I need to streamline my goals a little bit, but I also really just needed to be honest with myself about how I was feeling about the things and why they didn't feel good and what felt more supportive for me. And that took me a while. I honestly can say that I was probably in a good rut until August. I was really struggling to find balance for things, to feel really supported for things, to clear the energy around stuff, to be able to move forward. And lastly, I feel like the thing that really got me out of the procrastination rut was kind of a twofold thing. One being, I really had to sit with myself, and this came up for me very consistently as I was just asking for guidance of, at the end of the day, everything comes back to energy. That was the thing for me. Everything comes back to energy. I always have a choice, and that I really, really, more than anything, was in need of just being able to hold myself fully and completely. And I found that when I stopped really looking outside of myself for consoling or to feel things or to kind of navigate my day. Before, if I was feeling off or feeling overwhelmed or feeling whatever, I needed something else to get me back. But the problem is, when you're consistently looking outside of yourself, you're either A, constantly seeking something new, or B, you're in a state of just not really being able to pull yourself back in quickly, and there's not safety in your body. And this was something that literally, it was 2 months of just the universe punching me in the face with this message. And once I finally kind of got it and reset the boundaries for myself. So like getting on social media apps for me is fun and I really enjoy it. The timers at a point were really helpful to like make sure that I was checking in with things. Now I still really like having them, but I can also kind of feel the difference. I can feel when it becomes a like point of I don't really need to be on here anymore. It's not really serving me. I would search for books, I'd search for movies. Now I'm kind of in a place where like I don't love scrolling. Like I enjoy popping on Netflix and seeing things. I enjoy reading articles but I also really just enjoy intentionally being in a space. I won't spend forever scrolling on something. I'm not looking for anything to validate me or to feel good in that moment. If I'm in a space of frustration and overwhelm or whatever, I really find that the way that I feel the most supported is through myself, through the fact that I've taken the time to do the inner child work and that I'm really emotionally supporting myself and I need that quiet. So I'll meditate and that will kind of bring me back to center and I'll feel better. But the procrastination for me has really significantly decreased and I'm so much more in tune with the things that are making me happy, the things that are making me more money, the things that feel the most supportive, the ways that I'm getting to move forward, the ways that I feel most aligned, the ways that just have me so excited about all of the stuff that I know is coming and all of the stuff that's happened. But that has been deeply setting boundaries and stepping back from the world and really kind of coming to a place where I am gently holding myself. I'm supporting myself. I'm really like just loving on myself, dating myself, encouraging myself, becoming a person who feels wholly, completely supported for myself. And because of that, it's transforming my friendships, it's transforming my relationships, but it's also just making me show up in spaces and wanting to do things because I'm not constantly seeking something out. I'm not constantly in a need to like fill my time with stuff. Like I have a sheet of paper on my desk. Like I know what I'm doing. I might come to a point later in the day where like I said something earlier in a video and it like triggered a line from Arrow. And now I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to watch like a couple of episodes of Arrow before bed or like an episode, depending on what time I finish today. But like, there's the flow for that. And I kind of let myself be guided to things rather than feeling like I have to put every single hour, every single minute, every single bit of my calendar blocked, and B, finding that I'm constantly in need of something else to balance me. Now it comes from an abundance for me and I'm really getting to enjoy things and getting to show up. That being said, guys, I hope that today's episode helped you. I hope that if you guys are in a place where maybe you've been trying to do all of the things for a while and you feel like you can't get back on track, or you're just not feeling like aligned, you're not feeling like it's the best, you're really kind of maybe moving into a slow movement, slow morning, slow living, intentional space, that this episode found you and you felt really supported by it. So if that's the case, let me know. I am trying to get back in the habit of recording more podcast episodes for you, but I will definitely be doing some maybe more vlog style content for YouTube, hopefully for Christmas. I want to do a little bit of slow living at the holiday. So I would love it if you would join the community. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. I upload new videos every week. I also chat a little bit more deeply like this on TikTok, typically at some point every day. So if you guys want to come hang out over there, there's always long form content dropping on the blog. So please subscribe to the newsletter. But I hope this helped you. I hope that wherever you are feeling the most supported and that you know that going into this next season, you're not alone. I am here. I am so excited to continue growing and learning and just really embracing this new way of doing things. I've found it so fulfilling. It is changing my life and I know that it can change yours too. So I love you. It is a good day to have a good day and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye guys.